Having made it across the South Atlantic Ocean from South Africa to South America, it is time for us to sail further along the coast and take Florence up a river into the Amazonian rainforest. Okay, ready? There you go now.
Left Ile-de-Salut and we're sailing up to the Moroni River, which is actually the border between French Guiana and Suriname, and we're going to be taking Florence right up the river and into the jungle, the Amazonian jungle.
So it's about 95 miles from Ile-de-Salut to the Moroni River, and we're sailing out in the afternoon, and we're aiming to arrive at the river entrance at dawn.
We are Amy and Matt. We spent the last 6.5 years sailing our 37-foot sailboat Florence around the world. In that time, we've crossed 4 oceans. Over 40,000 miles have passed under our keel, and we are now closing in on our goal, to complete our circumnavigation.
Having crossed the South Atlantic Ocean, we now have South America and the Caribbean to explore before we cross the Atlantic one more time to return to our starting point in England. There's actually slightly more breeze than there was forecast to be at the moment. It's beautiful, we're drifting along under spinnaker, but we're probably going to have to slow down a little bit when we get closer just to make sure that we arrive at dawn and we don't arrive too early, because there's lots of fishing boats that have nets in the entrance according to the pilot book, and we really want to have daylight to negotiate those.
Yeah, you also potentially get like logs coming down the river and all sorts of other debris, so it's best if we can go up the river in daylight.
Ideally, we will go up with the rising tide, but we could actually punch the tide and go up against it if need be, but the tide can be up to 3 knots. So if it's light winds like this, then we'd have to motor, and it'd be like motoring on a travelator going the wrong way. So that would use a lot of fuel that we don't want to do. Big fish?
Yeah, we had one about half an hour ago, which got off the line just as Matt was pulling it in.
Oh!
Oh no!
Oh!
But I think this one might be bigger. Oh wow, you can see it.
Oh, okay. Well, it's smaller than the one that got away, but that's certainly a good sized fish for eating. Looks a bit like a barracuda, but
without the teeth.
I think we'll have to look it up and check what it is, but I think we can probably eat it.
Doesn't have the barracuda teeth.
No.
So we think the fish we caught is a king mackerel. Certainly looks like it's going to taste good. I'm just cooking it up with some noodles, these stir-fried vegetables with soy, garlic, and a bit of chilli.
What about the peanut butter?
Okay.
That's really good. It's a long time since we've had a fish like this. Very different to the mahi-mahi and tuna that we've been catching on our previous passages, but it's delicious. I guess it's more meaty, it's more like a cod, more like something from home. Florence is actually doing 7.5 to 8 knots under spinnaker on perfectly calm seas, because we've caught a bit more of the Guyana current that's whisking us along this coast, actually making us go too fast. So we're going to have to slow down tonight so that we don't arrive too early. But can't beat this.
o'clock. We've just finished dinner and I'm going to head to bed because we haven't got as much time to fit in our night watch routine because we're going to be arriving before dawn tomorrow. So we just need to get as much sleep as we can. It's a beautiful moonlit night and we've been making really good progress. In fact, so much so that we've had to take both the spinnaker and the mainsail down. So we've just been sailing along under a small bit of Genoa for the last few hours. It would be really relaxing sailing if it wasn't for the fact that there's actually a lot of unlit fishing boats around us. You don't see anything for ages and then this really bright light will suddenly turn on very close to you. And a few others around them as well. So yeah, I think I've seen about 7 so far on my watch which haven't been lit and then have suddenly been lit as we have approached. I've just been occasionally lighting up our sails to make us more visible with our spotlight so that they can see us and at least hopefully make themselves seen so we can avoid them. I think a lot of the fishing boats that are out here are actually anchored, so they wouldn't be able to get out of our way in a hurry. So it would be really nice if we could see them to avoid them. Just after 6 and the sun's just come up enough for us to be able to see. We've just been hanging around close to the safe water mark and now we've got enough light to head up the river, so we're going to start going into the channel. We've got I think about 10 miles at least until the first anchorage, so it's still going to take us a couple of hours to get there.
We have to be careful to actually spot the marks because the channel can move quite a bit due to the shifting sands at the river entrance. So Amy's just keeping a really good lookout on the bow to find the next buoy to aim for.
I've got it. It's just that the current is sweeping us sideways. So Florence is actually pointing over there, but we're heading in that direction. So the buoy is over there. I see it. You can see just how inaccurate the charts are around here. This is the channel which was marked on our chart, and then this is where we actually went.
As we entered the river, the water turned a deep brown colour, but we had timed it well and still had some tidal current helping us to sail upstream under full sail.
We just made it up to the first anchorage before the tide turned against us and just as the rainforest rain started. We would wait here at anchor for the next incoming tide to carry us up a side creek away from the main river and deeper into the jungle.
The dawn chorus of the jungle woke us from our slumber. As the sun rose, we ventured out from behind our mosquito nets to gaze at the jungle around us.
Look at that, mister.
Yes, that's what the pilot book means by there may be tree trunks floating around to be avoided. That's going back upstream now with the tide. With the turn of the tide, we lifted our anchor and set off inland. Where are we going, Amy?
We are going into the heart of the jungle. According to the chart, we are now well deep into the jungle. There is no river, according to the chart, but it's a good job that before we left and when we last had internet, we downloaded some satellite images which give us a better idea of where the river actually goes.
Both the jungle and the river host a huge variety of wildlife. Piranha, caiman and anaconda can be found in the water around us. Howler monkeys in the trees, and toucans and parrots in the sky above us.
Despite keeping a sharp lookout, so far such wildlife had eluded us. So we decided to anchor Florence and take a trip up a narrow creek in the dinghy to get closer to the trees and move under paddle instead of the noisy engine. By paddle, hoping to see something, but nothing yet. Feels a bit surreal to be in a jungle after all the time on Florence. It's a long time since we've taken the machine on a river trip. So Florence is in the main river here, and we've come up this creek, which is actually called Creek Anglaise, apparently. Yeah. This is about as far as we can get up this creek. We're about a kilometre up the creek away from where Florence is. And it's been quite fun to come and paddle through all these mangroves and stuff, but apart from one really big lizard and a few splashes that we weren't sure what they were, haven't really seen anything.
The most exciting thing we saw was this woodpecker on our way back downstream. But then back on Florence, I spotted a caiman sneaking past in the shallows.
With supplies running low, we decided to take Florence through the maze of jungle creeks to the French colonial town of Saint-Laurent-du-Maroni. We could have simply retraced our steps back to the main river and turned left, but we couldn't resist taking the back route, threading our way through the narrow jungle creeks. I think we now turn left up here. It's a little bit of a maze. It's a good job we got the satellite images to navigate by.
This tree overhangs quite a long way. Catching a tree in our rigging would cause some serious damage to both the tree and to Florence. So despite the desire to get as close as possible to the banks to spot any wildlife, we stuck to the middle of the channel. There's a couple of logs. It's okay. I love places like this where people use the water in their daily lives as much as we do. It's just such an interesting place to just sit on board Florence. You don't have to go far, but there's so much going on around you and just people zipping back and forth in their pirogues. I can see Suriname and the town over there, and it reminds me of so many different places we've been. There's such an interesting mix of cultures.
The Moroni River forms the border between Suriname and French Guiana, but these pirogues seem to come and go continually without passing through any border checkpoints. In fact, it seems that now people from the Suriname side of the river are coming over in large numbers to do their shopping at the French supermarkets. It used to be the other way round, but now the supermarket here in Saint-Laurent-du-Maroni is struggling to keep up with the demand, and when we went to do our grocery shopping, it was packed with long queues at the checkouts. Sadly, there is not much available in our price range, and even the vegetables in the local market seemed expensive after the low prices that we have become used to in South Africa.
This river anchorage is protected by a small island as a breakwater, but if you look closely, it's not an island at all. We've come over to what looks like an island from where Florence was moored, but is actually a sunken ship which has turned into an island and is providing protection over the anchorage. The jungle has totally taken it over. It's only when you look closely that you realise that the entire island is actually the ship. It's an incredible place. I don't think I've seen anything like it. It's not just mangroves that are growing here, there is a huge variety of different trees and vegetation.
I'm amazed at how solid this steel is. It's really thick steel. They've obviously removed the superstructure off of it, which is where all these rivet holes are here. But I would have expected this to be far more rusted given the size of the trees and therefore the amount of time that it's been here, but it's not hardly rusty at all. This must be the prop they've taken off the ship. It's a lot bigger than Florence's, pretty huge. Definitely wouldn't want to have to scrub this one.
This is when a great big caiman comes and takes my head off, isn't it? This bit of deck is super hot. It's actually a really nice place to come and sit, as long as you sit in the shade and not on the hot metal deck that's in the sun. But you can see views of Suriname on the other side of the river and all of the pirogues just zipping back and forth. It's really, really peaceful, kind of shaded from the town and feels like our own little private island.
this is where the ship's broken in half as it's sunk, I guess. And it's crazy how this massive thick steel plate has just ripped apart down the dotted line where the rivets were. Crazy. It's been fun to come up the river and explore inland here, but we haven't seen anywhere near as much wildlife as we were hoping to see. When we went up the river in Kumai in Borneo to see the orangutans, we saw loads of wildlife from the boat, but here it's been very difficult to spot the wildlife from the water.
Yeah, we had been anticipating going up another river in Suriname, in central Suriname, but we think the environment is going to be very similar to here, so we've decided to skip it because of the difficult formalities come with checking into Suriname and the miles of motoring that it would mean going up the river. So next time we will set off on a 600-mile passage to Trinidad and the Caribbean.
Oh, I can't turn it! Oh, that went off like stink.
Looks like a marlin.
I think we've got a marlin.
Don't forget to subscribe to catch the next episode. We release a video every 2 weeks.
If you'd like to find out more about behind the scenes on Florence, track our progress across the oceans in real time, find out where we are right now, or ask us pretty much anything, then please head over to our Patreon site and join the crew. We would like to thank everyone who supports us to make these videos possible, and a special thank you to our star patrons.